This Roblox game is over 10 years old, but still averages over 100,000 players. How? Well, this is one of 6 Roblox games we'll be investigating that refuses to die, with the last one making no sense how it isn't dead. Up first is one of the oldest games and most iconic, because it's Murder Mystery 2, which has over 25.8 billion visits, and averages around 150,000 players, despite being created 12 years ago in 2014. To understand this story, we have to go back to 2008, when the creator Nicholas joined the platform. For the first few years, he didn't care about development, but in 2013, he launched his first game, Trucking Tycoon, and it blew up, getting over 1 million visits and hitting the front page, which was huge back then. This game showed Nicholas the potential his games had, so he started working on his next game, not knowing it would change his life and Roblox forever. The next game being Murder Mystery, based on an already popular game mode in Gary's mod called Murderer. The concept is simple. Players are put into a random map with one murderer and one sheriff, the rest innocent. The goal of the murderer is to kill everyone, but the sheriff can stop them. With the game being simple and unique, it quickly blew up, not only becoming one of the biggest games on the platform, but also being one of the most earning. Nicholas had made it, but with all this attention, he was about to lose everything. A few months later, the game was hacked, and this caused it to fall from the top of the charts since players started quitting. Luckily, he was able to fix everything after a day, but sadly, this will only be the start of his problems. With the rise of Murder Mystery, many other developers stole the idea and made their own games. This is Lawless, who around the same time launched a Mad Murderer, which was an improved version of Murder Mystery. This caused many people to quit Murder Mystery, and the Mad Murderer became more popular instead. To make it worse, another game, Twisted Murderer, also took over and became more popular. It seemed like it was over for Nicholas. People were enjoying the other games more, but he knew exactly what to do. He spent a few months revamping everything, adding better maps, adding new mechanics, and more. And on December 27th, 2014, he released his new version as Murder Mystery 2. And since it improved everything, now everyone rushed to play this game, and he took over the charts yet again. For the next few years, this game dominated, getting billions of visits, and the creator was updating it a ton. But eventually, Nicholas slowed down and barely updated the game. But surprisingly, the game kept getting more players. How is this possible? Well, first, I want to ask the players.
It's not brain rot, and it's actually fun.
'Cause it's fun.
The updates.
These are some good theories, and it seems to all come down to simplicity. Nicholas knew the concept of his game was good, so he never changed the concept, and the simple nature of the game makes it easy for everyone to understand and enjoy, which is why, despite not updating the game much, it keeps growing, only getting more popular as time goes on. If you thought this was crazy, the next game comes from a creator who hated Roblox at first, that game being Beastorm Simulator, which has over 4.4 billion visits. It was averaging around 15,000 players, but just blew up again recently, 8 years after launch, hitting a new peak of over 250,000 players. So not only is this game not dying, but it's somehow getting more popular. How? Well, this all starts back in 2009, when the creator Onnit joined the platform. But there's a problem. Onnit didn't actually believe in Roblox, and he thought Roblox games had no potential, so he spent years making his own game engine and games outside of Roblox. But sadly, it wasn't working out. Onnit was struggling, spending year after year trying to make games with no success. It was looking like his time as a developer was over, but he had one final idea that would end up changing his life forever. He finally decided to give Roblox a chance, and spent a few months learning everything and creating his first ever Roblox game, that being Beastorm Simulator. The goal is to build the best army of bees. The better the bee is, the more pollen you get, and with more pollen, you can turn it into honey and get better bees or buy tools. The game is a loop, where players can just keep playing and making their bee army stronger and stronger. The loop is what got people hooked, and what kept people playing for a long time. To his surprise, it blew up right away, already in 1 month having millions of visits and thousands of active players. As the game grew bigger, Onnit kept updating it, making sure there's always fresh content, which kept players engaged. But over time, fans noticed the game was being updated less and less. See, Onnit knew the gameplay loop would keep people playing, so instead of doing a bunch of small updates, he would instead add one big update every once in a while. This kept people coming back, and this is why recently the game peaked, since it did one of their biggest updates, Bemis. When I asked players why this game never died, this is exactly what they said.
I saw how crazy Bemis was, so I came back.
I like to come back for every B-miss.
So the gameplay loop kept people engaged, and people make sure to always come back for the big updates, which is how this game just keeps growing and never seems to die. Our next game though is over 15 years old and still never died. That game being Natural Disaster Survival, which was launched all the way back in 2011, and got 4 billion visits over time, and still averages thousands of players. This all starts back in 2007, when the creator, Stickmaster Luke, joined the platform. Roblox itself launched in 2006, so he joined Roblox very early. Right away though, he fell in love with development and published a bunch of random games. To his surprise, a lot of his games started blowing up, one even getting over 600,000 visits, which was huge back then. After a few years, Stickmaster Luke was ready to make a new game, and he realized a trend going on, disaster games. However, there was a major problem. Every single disaster game that was popular was only one disaster, causing them to get boring quick. So his idea was to make a game where all the disasters were combined into one. And finally in 2011, he launched Natural Disaster Survival. The concept was simple. Every round, players would get put onto a random map and have to face a random disaster. Other games at the time were just one map and one disaster over and over again. So this game exploded, and since there's a bunch of maps and disasters, it didn't get boring like the other games, and just kept growing bigger as time went on. On top of this, every map is unique and required different strategies depending on the disaster. Not only was his game simple, but it also had a ton of replayability. His game was going viral, but then Stickmaster Luke did something crazy. Typically, developers would rush to add major updates, but he did the opposite. It took Stickmaster Luke 2 years after launch to finally add a major update. Overall, Stickmaster Luke stuck to this, and rarely ever updates natural disaster survival, but despite this, it never really dies. How? Well, it all comes down to simplicity and replayability. Even without constant updates, it's simple and easy to try a new map every time with a new disaster. Even with repeats, it's a simple concept that anyone can play. If you thought this was crazy, we're only getting crazier as the video goes on. But before, I have a special announcement. My plushie with YouTube's is out now, and you can buy it using the link in the description or pinned comment. We spent so long on this and it turned out amazing. It means a ton and thank you so much. Back to the video. Up next, Flee the Facility, which is over 5.6 billion visits. It was launched back in 2017, 8 years ago, and still averaged over 30,000 players. This story starts all the way back in 2010, when Mr. Windy, their creator, joined the platform. Early on, he fell in love with development and launched a bunch of random games. Most failed, but one actually got over 100,000 visits, which motivated him to keep going. However, game after game, after 7 years on the platform, none of his games went viral, and it wasn't looking good for his development journey. But he wasn't ready to give up just yet. In 2017, he would launch a game that would change everything. In 2017, he launched Flee the Facility. 5 players are put into a random map, with one becoming a beast and the rest survivors. The survivors must hack all the computers on the map without being caught by the beast. If the beast kills everyone, they lose. It was inspired by another popular game, Dead by Daylight, and since it was unique for Roblox, this game exploded. In 2 years, the game already hit 1 billion visits, and just kept growing bigger over time. And the developer knew his concept was perfect, so he never really changed it. But over time, added new maps and such to keep the game fresh, but the core concept never really changed. And this concept is what kept the game going. It's easy for anyone to understand and play right away. With the new maps and other elements, you never really get bored, which is how this game has been going on for so long. There have been several problems though, with the community not liking certain updates or maps, but throughout all this, the game kept a consistent player base. Our next game though is still one of the biggest games after almost 10 years, that being Adopt Me, which is over 43 billion visits. This game was launched back in 2017, 9 years ago, but it still averages over 250,000 players, and is still getting over 1 million players for their updates. How? Well, it all starts back in 2011, when the creator, Newfissy, joined Roblox. For the first few years, he was just playing Roblox, but eventually decided he wanted to make his own games. So he began learning, launching game after game. However, these games failed. He kept trying, but none of his games did well. It was looking like it was over for Newfissy. He could have quit and just gone back to playing Roblox, but he was determined. He launched a couple more games, this time actually finding success, which motivated him to keep going. And eventually in 2016, he would launch a game that would change everything. That being Treelands, which started taking off and growing fast, over time getting almost 17 million visits. This seemed like the moment he was waiting years for, but something unfortunate happened that would forever end the development of this game. One of the senior devs for Treelands passed away, and that was the event that would be the end of Treelands, putting an end to the project and having a significant effect on Newfissy mentally. After all this, he decided to move past Treelands and the entire group, leaving it as a legacy to the late developer. A year later, it was time for Newfissy to make a new game, and he noticed the rise in adoption and roleplay games. But with the help of another developer, Think, they started creating their own, not knowing this would change their lives in Roblox forever. In 2017, they launched this game and called it Adopt Me, which at its core is really simple. It's an adoption roleplay game where you can either be a parent or a kid, but over time they kept adding more, and now the game has other elements like pets, potions, and more. Adopt Me started off slow, but then blew up. By the end of the year, it got over 70 million visits. Over time, it became the #1 most visited Roblox game ever, with over 30 billion visits, and their updates were getting millions of players. So it was so popular that many think they broke Roblox, since whenever they would update, the entire platform would be down. And as mentioned, 9 years later, it's still pulling millions of players, and is one of the biggest games. How? Well, first, I want to ask the players to see what they think.
Maybe because of the frequent updates.
It's addictive.
And it does seem to be a combination of these. Adopt Me constantly updates, giving players new and fresh content, and there's always something to look forward to. On top of this, some of the updates changed the game forever, like pets and trading, which made the game addicting to some people, since everyone's trying to collect the best pets. Pets and trading added a whole new level to this game, and the game has an entire economy now. Adopt Me also does special events, where players can get limited time pets, so it encourages people to constantly tune in so you don't miss anything. Plus, this game at its core is very simple and easy to pick up, so you can either just roleplay or get super deep into the trading scene. It seems like the player base enjoys both. Overall, Adopt Me seemed to never die due to the developers constantly changing the game and keeping players engaged with constant updates. Adopt Me was the #1 most visited Roblox game for a long time, but our next game actually overtook it, that being Brookhaven, their current most visited Roblox game with over 82 billion visits. This game is over 6 years old now, and is still the #1 game on Roblox, averaging around 400,000 players. How did we get to this point? Well, it all starts with Wolfpack, the creator. Wolfpack joined Roblox on May 9th, 2014, and like other creators on this list, he started out as a normal player playing games. He particularly liked FPS games, which inspired him to make his own. In 2016, he launched Criminal vs. SWAT. To his surprise, this game would go viral, getting over 300 million visits. With this success, he started working on a new game and had a smart strategy. His strategy was that if one game did well, he'd try recreating it hoping to get similar success, and this strategy would end up changing everything. However, at first, it failed, because he tried making more FPS games, but couldn't reach that same level of success again. This could have been the end of Wolfpack's development journey, but he was determined to make another huge Roblox game. He noticed a rise in roleplay games, so in 2017, he decided to create his own, Brookhaven, and it blew up, getting over 80 million visits. The game did well, but still not as popular as Criminal vs. SWAT, so he was still determined to launch more Roblox games. And this is where strategy comes in. As mentioned, he typically recreates his games that were successful, so his next goal was to recreate his roleplay game and just overall make it better. This decision would not only end up changing his life, but Roblox as a whole forever, because on May 3rd, 2020, he would release Brookhaven, which instantly took over Roblox. After 6 months, they already hit 1 billion visits, and it was averaging around 70,000 players. The game was simple. It had a basic map and all you do is roleplay, but you can also explore explore secrets, get new houses, cars, and more. But unlike Adomi, where they added major updates like pets that change the game, Brookhaven didn't change much, and it's always remained a simple roleplay game at its core. Wolfpack had finally made it, but over time he made a big decision. In February of 2025, he sold the game to another company. A lot of times when this happens, companies ruin the games, causing them to die. But throughout all this, Brookhaven has never died. How? Well, it all comes down to simplicity. Anyone can join and play Brookhaven, and they have free choice to do whatever. On top of this, as mentioned, the game never strayed away from being a roleplay game. Adobe, for example, expanded beyond a roleplay game, which some players didn't like, but Brookhaven always remained the spot for a simple roleplay game. And such as Brookhaven, the one thing all the games on this list have in common is simplicity, and that seems to be the true reason why they all refuse to die. But sadly, that's not the fate for many other games. Click here to watch these 4 Roblox games that died, and I'll see you in the next one.